The best man standing at every wedding you have ever attended was originally a hired swordsman. His job was to fight off anyone who tried to kidnap the bride. And the bridesmaids in their matching dresses, they were decoys, dressed identical to the bride so evil spirits could not figure out which woman to curse. But those are just 2 out of 20 traditions, black and white, stretching back centuries, carrying meanings that almost nobody at the ceremony knows. Some will surprise you. A few might change how you see every wedding from here on out. Number 1. The white wedding dress. Everybody assumes the white dress means purity. That assumption is wrong. Before 1840, brides across Europe wore whatever color they wanted. Red, blue, green, even black. There was no expectation of white at all. Then Queen Victoria married Prince Albert and chose a white gown, not because of innocence, but because she had commissioned an extremely expensive set of English lace, and she wanted the whole world to see it. It was a show of wealth, a queen flexing on her empire. Magazines published illustrations of the gown, and within a decade, every bride in England wanted the same look. The entire tradition, nearly 200 years of white wedding dresses, exists because one queen wanted to show off fabric she could afford to wear once. Number 2. Tasting the 4 elements. This tradition is still practiced in many black families today, and if you have never seen it at a wedding, it will stay with you once you do. During the ceremony, the bride and groom taste 4 different flavors together. Lemon for the sour moments that every marriage faces. Vinegar for the bitter times when patience wears thin. Cayenne pepper for the heat and passion that keeps the relationship alive. And honey for the sweetness that makes all of it worth enduring. What makes this tradition stand apart is its honesty. It does not pretend marriage is all celebration. Right there at the altar, it tells the couple they are signing up for the full experience, the difficult parts included. That kind of honesty is something a lot of modern ceremonies could learn from. Number 3. The best man. Today, the best man holds the ring, gives a toast, maybe organizes a bachelor party. Totally harmless. But the original role had nothing to do with friendship. In Germanic cultures and parts of medieval Europe, the best man was selected because he was the best swordsman the groom knew. His entire purpose was to stand armed at the altar and protect the ceremony from anyone who might interfere. And in some traditions, the groom had literally kidnapped the bride from a neighboring village. So the best man was there to fight off her family if they came to take her back. That is why the best man still stands to the right of the groom. The right hand was the sword hand. He needed it free and ready. But the origins get stranger the further down this list we go. Number 4. The money dance. At many black weddings, there is a moment during the reception where guests line up to dance with the bride or groom and pin dollar bills onto their clothing or place cash in a special money bag. This is not a party trick. It is one of the oldest forms of collective economics still practiced at family celebrations. In many African and Caribbean cultures, this tradition goes back generations. A new household needs resources to get started, and the people who love that couple prove it by investing in their foundation. Every dollar pinned onto that dress or that suit is a statement. It says we believe in this marriage and we are putting our money behind it. Number 5. Bridesmaids in matching dresses. Today, matching bridesmaids is just an aesthetic choice for the photos. The tradition started in ancient Rome, and the reason was dark. Bridesmaids were required to dress identically to the bride herself. Same gown, same veil, same jewelry. The goal was to confuse evil spirits who might try to curse the bride, and to serve as decoys in case someone tried to kidnap her before the ceremony. So every bridal party posing in matching lilac gowns outside a church is unknowingly recreating an ancient system of human camouflage. The more women who looked like the bride, the harder it was for any threat to find the real one. And if that surprises you, wait until you hear where the garter toss actually comes from. Number 6. Kente cloth. In many Black American weddings, the couple incorporates kente cloth into the ceremony. Kente originates from the Ashanti people of Ghana, and it was originally reserved for royalty. Every color in the weave carries specific meaning. gold for wealth and maturity, green for growth and harvest, blue for peace and love, red for political passion and sacrifice. Some couples wear full kente garments during the ceremony. Others drape a strip of kente across their joined hands while exchanging vows. Either way, it is a deliberate connection to African heritage, a statement that says our history did not begin with slavery, it began with kingdoms. Number 7. The garter toss. This tradition has a far stranger origin than you would ever guess from watching it at a reception. In medieval Europe, wedding guests believed that owning a piece of the bride's clothing would bring them good luck. So after the ceremony, crowds of guests would literally chase the bride, grabbing at her dress and trying to rip off pieces as souvenirs. It got physical. It got dangerous. To keep the crowd from tearing her dress apart, brides started removing the garter themselves and tossing it into the crowd as a distraction. It was a survival tactic. The groom eventually took over the removal, and what started as a desperate act of self-defense became a fun moment with a DJ countdown and a circle of single men on the dance floor. Number 8. Jumping the broom. This is the tradition that carries the deepest weight. During slavery in America, enslaved Africans were not legally allowed to marry. Their relationships had no legal standing, so they created their own ceremony. A couple would jump together over a broomstick, and that single act symbolized sweeping away the old life and stepping forward as a new family. The community witnessed it. The community honored it, and that was the marriage. But the roots stretch further back than slavery. Jumping the broom traces to West African traditions, where brooms held spiritual significance, representing the sweeping away of past wrongs and the welcoming of ancestral blessings into a new home. Enslaved people carried that meaning across the Atlantic and kept it alive under the worst conditions imaginable. The law said their love did not count. They proved it did. This next one might change the way you see the walk down the aisle forever. Number 9. Giving the bride away. The image of a father walking his daughter down the aisle looks like pure tenderness. The actual origin is far less sentimental. In ancient civilizations, women were considered property. The father walking the bride to the groom was a literal transfer of ownership from one man to another. The groom was receiving an asset, and the father was delivering it, often in exchange for a dowry or a political alliance. The walk down the aisle was a business transaction in a white dress. Number 10. Pouring libation. In many black wedding ceremonies, a portion of water or spirits is poured onto the ground before the vows begin. This is a direct continuation of West African spiritual practice. Libation is poured to honor the ancestors, to invite their presence into the space, and to ask for their blessing over the union. The person pouring often speaks the names of deceased family members out loud: grandmothers, grandfathers, parents who did not live long enough to see this day. If you have ever been in the room when this happens, you know it hits different than anything else in the ceremony because it acknowledges that a marriage does not begin with two people. It begins with everyone who sacrificed so this moment could exist. Number 11. The wedding veil. The veil was never originally about beauty. In ancient Rome and Greece, marriages were arranged, and the groom was not allowed to see the bride's face before the deal was finalized. If he saw her and changed his mind, the entire arrangement collapsed. The veil prevented that problem completely. There was also a belief that evil spirits were drawn to joyful occasions and would try to curse the bride. The veil served as a shield, hiding her identity from anything harmful. Whether you see it as a business tactic or a spiritual defense system, the veil existed for practical reasons long before anyone thought of it as romantic. Number 12. Cowrie shells. Across West Africa, cowrie shells were used as currency for centuries. They also held deep spiritual significance, representing wealth, fertility, and protection. In traditional African weddings, cowrie shells were woven into the bride's hair, stitched into garments, and arranged around the ceremony space as symbols of abundance. Today, many Black American couples have brought this tradition back, incorporating cowrie shell jewelry, bouquet accents, and table settings into their weddings. Before there were dollars, and before there were coins, there were cowrie shells. And they meant prosperity. Speaking of building real prosperity, if you have been thinking about creating financial independence for yourself and your family, I put together a free ebook called The Black Dollar Playbook. It covers practical strategies for growing your income and keeping your wealth working inside your community, whether that is for your children, your grandchildren, or just making sure your money works as hard as you always have. The link is in the description. It is completely free. Number 13. Smashing the wedding cake. The modern wedding cake tradition started with something far less elegant than frosting and fondant. In ancient Rome, the groom would break a loaf of barley bread directly over the bride's head. This was supposed to guarantee fertility. Guests would then scramble to grab crumbs from the ground because the fallen pieces were considered good luck charms. Over centuries, the bread became cake, the breaking became cutting, and the scramble became polite slices on paper plates. The playful cake smash, where couples push frosting into each other's faces, is actually closer to the original Roman version than the neat slice and serve that we consider civilized today. Number 14. The Second Line Parade. In New Orleans, no wedding is complete without a second line. After the ceremony, a brass band leads the newlywed couple and their guests through the streets. Umbrellas twirling, handkerchiefs waving, the entire crowd dancing behind the music. The band is the first line. Everyone who follows is the second line. This tradition grew out of the jazz funeral, where a brass band would play somber music on the way to the burial and then break into joyful, upbeat songs on the return, celebrating the life that had been lived. At weddings, the same energy applies. The couple is leaving their old lives behind and stepping into a new chapter, and the whole community celebrates that transition together in the street. Pay attention to this next detail, because it explains something you have probably seen dozens of times without thinking twice about it. Number 15. Carrying the bride over the threshold. This one looks like a purely romantic gesture. The real story is Roman superstition. Romans believed that evil spirits gathered in doorways, waiting to slip into new homes. If the bride tripped or stumbled crossing the threshold on her first entry, it was an omen of terrible luck for the marriage. So the groom just picked her up and carried her over it. Every newlywed couple doing this outside their hotel room door is unknowingly performing an ancient protection ritual against invisible evil lurking in the doorframe. Number 16. The broom passed down through generations. In some black families, the broom used in the jumping ceremony is not purchased from a store. It is the same broom that the couple's parents jumped over at their wedding, and their parents before them. These brooms are decorated with new ribbons, fresh flowers, and sometimes small charms for each new ceremony, and over the years they become family heirlooms. A grandmother's broom carries her marriage into the next wedding. A great-grandmother's broom carries an entire lineage. The broom becomes a living record of family history, collecting new ribbons and new meaning with every ceremony it witnesses. Number 17. Something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. You have heard the rhyme your entire life, but almost nobody knows what it actually means, and even fewer people know it is incomplete. This is a Victorian-era English tradition, where each item represents a specific blessing for the bride. Something old is continuity with her past. Something new is hope for the future. Something borrowed must come from a happily married woman so her good fortune transfers. And something blue represents loyalty, because blue was associated with the Virgin Mary. But the original rhyme had a fifth line that quietly disappeared. And a sixpence in your shoe. The bride was supposed to place a silver coin in her left shoe for financial prosperity. That part got dropped, probably because nobody wanted to limp down the aisle with a coin jammed under their heel. And this next tradition might be the most emotionally intense moment on this entire list. Number 18. Calling the ancestors by name. In many black wedding ceremonies, there is a dedicated moment where the officiant or a family elder speaks the names of deceased loved ones out loud. Every name individually, every person honored. Some families place empty chairs at the front of the ceremony with framed photographs of those who have passed on. This tradition comes from a belief that runs deep through many African spiritual systems. The dead are not gone. They are present. They are watching, and their blessing matters to the living. It often brings entire rooms to tears because it takes absence and turns it into presence. A grandmother who died 10 years ago is suddenly in the room again, her name on everyone's lips, her memory woven into the ceremony she did not live to see. Number 19. Tying the knot. You have used this phrase your whole life. It comes from a real ceremony. In many African cultures, the couple's wrists are bound together with a strip of kente cloth, a braided cord, or a piece of fabric chosen by the family. The binding represents two lives, two families, and two histories being joined together. The same tradition shows up thousands of miles away in Celtic hand-fasting ceremonies, meaning two cultures that had no contact with each other independently arrived at the exact same idea: bind the hands and seal the marriage. The phrase traveled from the ceremony into everyday language, and now people say it without realizing they are quoting an ancient wedding ritual. Number 20. The honeymoon. The word honeymoon is not a metaphor. It is literally about honey. In ancient European tradition, the bride's father would supply the newlywed couple with enough mead, a wine made from fermented honey, to last one full moon cycle. That is roughly 30 days of drinking honey wine. The purpose was to lower inhibitions and encourage the couple to conceive a child as quickly as possible. So the romantic getaway to the beach resort, the all-inclusive package, the couple's massage at sunset, that whole concept started as a month-long fertility strategy powered by alcohol. The next time someone tells you they are heading off on their honeymoon, just know the original version involved a lot more mead and a lot less sunscreen. 20 traditions, 2 cultures, centuries of meaning hiding in plain sight. Black wedding traditions were built on resilience, community, and a spiritual connection to the people who came before. White wedding traditions often started as protection rituals, superstitions, and property arrangements that had very little to do with love. But both sides carried these customs forward, generation after generation, even as the original meanings faded. The broom still gets jumped, the garter still gets tossed, the ancestors still get called by name. If this changed how you see weddings, subscribe. Every week, we go deep on the history, the culture, and the traditions that shaped who we are. Click the video on your screen right now because the next one goes even further back.